What's happening, Captains? If you're here, you're obviously looking to either purchase an Arc'teryx Beta AR for the first time, or you're looking to upgrade and you're wondering if there's going to be any significant changes or things you need to worry about if you get a new version of one that you already have. So let's jump into all the differences and similarities between these two products, the original Arc'teryx Beta AR and the revised Arc'teryx Beta AR. Now, before we do that, if something comes up in this video and you're like, hey, I wanted to know about this, but you didn't talk about it, then you need to follow me on all social medias and subscribe here on YouTube, because I posted on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, here in a community post, what you guys wanted to know about, and then gave you a week or so to kind of get those answers in. So again, if I missed something, let me know in the comments below, but also make sure you're subscribed on everything, you're following on everything, so that way you can offer your input into what you want to see in these videos. So what's the difference in between the original Beta AR and the revised ones? Let's go over all the little similarities and differences. The first one is the fabric itself. Now I know you're like, oh, well, they're both Gore-Tex Pro, and you're right. Waterproof-wise, they are functionally the same. There's no difference. But this has a ripstop lining, and you can kind of see in the little grid pattern here. And this one does not. And it's not just a color thing, because I checked all the colors for you guys. They just don't have the ripstop lining in the newer jackets.
And here's a good look at those fabrics close up. So you can see here, you have the ripstop lining. You can see that ripstop grid very clearly. And then here you're just looking at the Gore-Tex Pro fabric with no ripstop lining.
Now, I don't know why they changed the ripstop material to a non-ripstop material, unless in their testing, they just found that the jackets didn't need the ripstop material. And I mean, it's probably a little lighter. It's definitely a lot cleaner to look at when you don't have the grid pattern going on, but that never bothered me. And I liked having that assurance that, you know, if a thorn did stick it, it wouldn't rip straight down. It would hit one of those strings and pop out, which is what it's designed to do, to make the hole smaller, so if you did have to repair it. But the face fabric has been strong enough, again, in my 5-year review, that even with all the brushes and brambles and briars and stuff that I've gone through, I haven't actually had anything rip into the fabric yet. So that might be their reasoning for it. I don't know, but it's an interesting one, and I wish I knew someone at Arc'teryx that I could talk to kind of ask them why they did that. But that's just a thing to notice, right? Now, the other big thing, and the thing that they actually put on their website as to what the change is the sizing. So if you're outside of a medium, if you're outside of that little center column of the jacket sizing, then it's changed for you. If you go smaller, it's a tighter fit now, and if you go larger, it's a slightly looser fit. Now, the differences aren't huge, but they are just enough that they are quite comfortable in comparison. So I can only talk about the larger end because that's the size I got, and that's the size I originally had, and that's the new size I have. So I'm going to talk about it from that perspective.
Okay, obviously this isn't going to be perfect, but I'm trying to keep it as accurate as possible. If you measure from shoulder seam to shoulder seam and then come straight down, the new ones are about 3 centimeters longer than the original. There's also some really interesting differences in how the panels on the arms are sewn up. You can kind of see here.
The new jacket is about a centimeter bigger than the old jacket throughout the torso. And it's not a huge difference, but it is enough that it makes it feel a little roomier, and that you can layer up a lot easier, because when I put like a thorium down jacket or a cerium or any kind of down jacket underneath this shell, like if I want to use it for really, really cold weather, then it got a little tight, but I think that extra centimeter difference will help.
And lengthwise, there's not a huge difference. Again, it's about a centimeter, but only on the back side. The front side seams are the same. So you get like a centimeter difference on the back side flap of your waist, but then the front sides, like I said, are the same.
Now, The sizing is the only thing that they mention on their website, but there are actually a lot of other differences. The first being the fabric. Then the next change they made is to the zipper pulls. Now, your main zipper pull is the same, and all the zippers are the same. They're all the same YKK water resistant zippers.
The zippers themselves are exactly the same. It's just the pulls that have changed.
But the zipper pulls on the main thing are identical. Like, I measured them, and even in thickness, they're exactly the same. They feel a little different, but I think that probably has more to do with just color changes, changing the chemical makeup versus this one, because otherwise they are the exact same. It's the exact same mold. But then on your pit zips and your hand zips, there's been quite a significant change. Now, on the original, you had this same sort of big zipper pull, right? But then you've got this little stubby one that's again on your pockets and your pit zips. Like, it's just a little guy. Now, I get why they did it, because it is significantly more comfortable under your armpits, especially because, like, I don't know about you, I don't like to keep my armpit zippers at the top or the bottom. I kind of like to keep them right in the middle so I can just get to them really quick and open up where the hottest areas of my skin are, right? But I don't know how this is gonna be if you're using this as like a ski shell or something like that, because with these old ones, since they were that longer zipper pull, it was nice and easy to grab when wearing gloves, but this one being this little short stubby zipper pull, I don't know how that's gonna be, but I get why they did it, right? Now, the next change is all of the little toggles everywhere. So anything that needs to be cinched tight, like on your head or around your waist, all of these buttons have changed. See, on the old one with the buttons, the smallest part of the button is what you pressed to make your adjustments. So it's the least amount of surface area. So it's kind of hard to do without looking at it, right? Now they've changed it for the newer ones with this nice big flat button here where the button is on the fattest part of the surface area. So it's so much easier to grab and use. That was a really good change, because with the other ones, inevitably, I always had to feel around or look at it to get it to work correctly. And that was especially tricky on the back of the head one, because you're just fumbling around trying to get that little bitty bit and tighten it up. But now, the fattest, easiest to grab part is the part that you press in to change your adjustments. That's a fantastic improvement. Now, the normal little pull tabs everywhere, like at the front of your hood and the back of your hood, they've stayed exactly the same. Well, almost exactly the same. The sides of them are a bit flatter than the original, but not by much, but it is just enough that, again, it makes it easier for you to grab without having to fumble around in it. Another really interesting change that they made is around all the internal seam sealing. So on the original one, all the internal seams, you can see here, are a centimeter. They are 1 centimeter wide internal seam seals, right? And they worked fine. I've had no problems with my seams at all. Like, you just saw my 5-year review. If you haven't, go check it out. It's on my channel. I did a 5-year review of my Arc'teryx Beta AR and how it's held up, spoiler alert, very impressively. But the seams on that were never an issue for me. But with the new one, they've widened the seam sealer, so the seam sealed areas, so that instead of 1 centimeter, they're now 1.5 centimeters.
Now here's a good view of the seams like I was talking about. Got 1.5 centimeters on the new seam, whereas you come up here to the old seam and you can clearly see it's like spot on at 1 centimeter.
And it's just a little extra security, more room for the bonding to happen to make it even more waterproof, which again, wasn't getting leaks in the old ones, but they have thought to improve it.
Now there's no difference in between the neoprene style fabrics that are touching your nose and mouth or the back of your neck. They feel the same, they look the same, and they're cut the same.
So tons of quality of life improvements here that are making things easier to use, minus the fact that the ones that were changed definitely for comfort might be a little harder to use. I've got to see how that's gonna be long term. But I think what it boils down to is if you're getting a new one and you've never had one before, you're gonna be so ecstatic because this is the best possible version you can get and they've done a great job with it. If you're getting an old one, if you need to upgrade, then you won't be like, oh my gosh, the quality has dropped precipitously since I've had mine. And that's a thing that you always have to worry about nowadays. I don't know why, but it seems like everything just gets more expensive and crappier. But at least in this case, it's not crappier. It's just as good, if not better. Again, I've got to see over long term because I just got this thing for you guys, but I'm not seeing anything that I would be like, oh my goodness, this is an upgrade where if you need to upgrade, you won't be upset. But there's not enough changes here that if yours isn't broken or, you know, at the end of its sort of life cycle, I wouldn't change anything because the original works absolutely fantastically. So I would just keep using that until the wheels fell off of it, right? But you know, you won't be disappointed when the time comes for you to upgrade, which is a fantastic thing. Now, if you've made it this far and you're watching till the very end of the video, awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that because watch time matters more than you guys could ever imagine for especially smaller channels like mine. And since you've made it this far, I want to give you the opportunity to help me with the next video. I just got this Alpha SL23 backpack in a never-ending push to kind of have a super light backpack that I can take camera gear in for day trips when I'm not having to travel on an airplane or whatever. But what are things that you guys would want to know about this backpack? Because to me, it's always going to be from a hiking with camera gear perspective. But what are some things that you guys want to know? And let me know in the comments below and I'll put them in the video and try it out and test it all for you guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope this has answered all of your questions. If it hasn't, please let me know in the comments below and I'll try to answer those the best you can. And again, subscribe to the YouTube if you want to be able to be more involved in the decision-making process for what goes into a video. Follow on Instagram, Twitter, and all the social media stuff. You can find me if you want to be a part of these surveys that I do before I review a product. So thank you for watching, thank you for your time, and I hope this has been helpful, and I hope to see you out there. Bye. Testing 1, 2, let's see how the mics sound on this because I'm having to re-record all of this video because the mic's messed up for some reason.